الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وأزواجه وذريته قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أرحموا أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر وأصدقهم حياء عثمان وأقضاهم علي وفاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة والحسن والحسين سيدا شباب أهل الجنة وحمزة أسد الله وأسد رسوله أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان حميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وعن ابن مسعود رضي الله تعالى عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لو كنت متخذا خليلا لاتخذت أبا بكر ولكنه أخي وصاحبي وقد اتخذ الله صاحبكم خليلا أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. My dear respected brothers, elders, ulama-i kiram, today we've gathered in the masjid in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to talk about one of the greatest sahabis. Not one of the greatest, the greatest sahabi. We've gathered today to talk about the companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a final messenger. La nabiyya ba'dahu. There are no more prophets to come after him. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was khitamuhu misk. He was a final, he was a seal of all prophets. There are no more prophets to come after him. And it says, Afdalul Bashar Ba'dal Anbiya, the best of human beings after the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. After the Nabis and the Anbiya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best of creation, the best of people, the best of human beings, Khalifatun bila fasal. The Khalifa without anyone in the middle, bila fasal, without any third person, without any third party. Bila fasal, straight after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Sayyiduna Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. Many scholars, they've done bayans about Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. They've done seminars about Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. My respected brothers and elders, we can never fulfill the right of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. The more we hear, the more we listen about him, the more we become inspired. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the hadith can be found in Mishkat. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if I was to make anybody a Khalil, the word used in the Arabic language is Khalil. In English, the only translation is friend. However, Arabic language is a very unique language. If I was to make anybody a Khalil, I would make Abu Bakr my Khalil. However, he is my brother and my Sati and my partner. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made your partner, i.e. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his Khalil. The word used in the hadith is Khalil. It comes from the word Khulla. And some ulama say no, it comes from the word Khalla. Two different meanings. If it's from khulla, it means that that friend who is a very deep and close friend, that who knows what you're thinking, who knows what you feel, and he rules over your heart whenever you feel down or anything like that. See? He can cheer you up and he can get you through anything. And he kind of understands your tabiat fully. And if it's from khulla, the other one, then he says that person that you're always in need of them, you always need their help and they're always there. There's a little difference. And the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says this because he says that Allah made me his Khalil. Allah made me his Khalil. That the Nabi of Allah is always needed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if I was to make any other friend, then it would be Abu Bakr. Then it would be Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. See? Imam Ghazali rahimahullah mentioned in this hadith, it says when it's mentioned, see, that لَتَخَذْتُ خَلِيلًا, that I would make him my friend. He says in the riwayat, Imam Ghazali adds this much. See? وَلَكِنَّهُ أَخِي وَمُونِسِي وَصَاحِبِي يعني صاحبي في الغار, that he was my partner in the ghar, in the cave. My respected brothers and elders, so many times we hear about Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. And when you hear these names, when you hear about these people, naturally you build an image in your mind that maybe they look like this, maybe they were like this, maybe they were like this, and so on and so forth. And today, in the day of social media, everybody gets their own ideas. Let me tell you a little about the description of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. How was he? How did he look? It says about Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, see, he was very, very thin. Very thin. He was so skinny, that his izar ko English mein kya kehte hain bhai? Trousers. They said that his trousers, he could barely tie them. They would get loose. His beard was orange. He would use mehndi for his beard. His eyes were sunken. You could see the texture of his face, the bones, the haddi, everything of it. Because he was very thin. Sahaba used to say that when we look at him, from looks, he would look like the weakest. With Iman, he was the strongest. Allahu Akbar. By looks, very kamzor, very weak, that the wind will blow him away. But Iman was the strongest. Upon occasion, the hukum came that you have to lift your trousers above your ankles. As Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, how can I do it? My trousers keep on going over. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that this was a sign of pride. Rasulullah said, Abu Bakr, this rule doesn't apply to you, because you have no pride inside you. Because you have no kibr inside you. See? He was known as Siddiq. His name was Abdullah. His name was Abdullah. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's name was Abdullah. His kunya was Abu Bakr. See? There's some people that we see in today's time, they don't have some good thing to say about Bakr radiallahu anhu. They say we don't believe him to be Abu Na'udhu Billah, Na'udhu Billah. Listen to me carefully. When a person says Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the word Muhammad, it means that one who is always to be praised, jiski taarif ki jati hai. By just saying Muhammad, you're praising Muhammad. Now if somebody says Muhammad, main Muhammad ko manta nahi, tumhara sirf Muhammad kehna hi manna hai. If you say I don't agree with Muhammad, just you saying Muhammad, you're praising Muhammad. And he says about Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, some ulama mentioned that the reason why he was known as Abu Bakr, some ulama they mentioned this, there's difference of opinions. They say because the word comes from Bakr, Bikr, beginning. Mutabakkiran, I came very early. It says that he became in the beginning of Islam. So that person who says I don't follow Abu Bakr, by you just saying you don't follow Abu Bakr, you follow Abu Bakr because Abu Bakr came in the beginning. Ulama they mentioned that he was one of the first Muslims. He was the first person to bring Iman and Islam. The first male to bring Islam was Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. How did he hear about Islam? From childhood, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he had a very different tabiat. He had a different way of how he grew up. When his father would go to worship the idols, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an, he would sit there. His father used to take him, you know how our fathers bring us to the masjid. So he said he would go there, he would sit there and he'd look at these idols, and upon occasion, he looked at these idols one day and he says, I don't get it, why they worship this idol. So Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala said this idol, he said, I'm hungry, give me some food. He looked at this idol, he said, I'm hungry, give me some food. So nothing happened. He says, I'm thirsty, give me some drink. And obviously, no mango lassi or anything came, nothing gonna happen, obviously, right? Then Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he took a pebble, he picked a pebble, and he threw it at this idol. And this idol fell. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala looked and says, what kind of God is this? He can't even defend himself. So he never worshipped idols. From before Islam, as Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala never went near alcohol. He never went near alcohol. And he was put off from a young age. So what happened was, on occasion there was one man, he was under the influence of alcohol. And while he was under the influence of alcohol, he dipped his hand in some stool, number 2. Right? He dipped his finger and he started to smell it. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala says, this guy got mad. He's that much under the influence that he doesn't even know what he's doing. So from that day, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu became put off from alcohol, that no, this is not right. So upon occasion, obviously he was very close to the Prophet ﷺ, he was the best companion of Rasulullah. So one day Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he was in the Kaaba, around the Kaaba doing tawaf, and there was a man by the name of Umayyah bin Salat. He wasn't a believer, and he was talking to a person by the name of Zayd, and Zayd was a muwahhid. He believed in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He died 5 years before Nabuwwat. This Umayyah bin Salat, he looks at Zayd, he says, has that final messenger come yet that you talk about, that the people of the book they speak about? Has that final messenger come yet? He says, no, the final messenger hasn't come yet. So this words rung in the ears of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. So it wasn't long after that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when Nabuwwat was given, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave this da'wat of Nabuwwat. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam began to propagate that I am the Nabi of Allah, and I am on the deen of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, and we don't worship idols and so on and so forth. So Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, when he heard about this, he went and he knocked on the blessed door of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when he met Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, oh Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I've heard that you're making a claim that you're a Nabi, that you're a Prophet of Allah, and that you call to one Allah, and you call to stay away from these things and to do these things, and so on and so forth. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, yes, I've been given this message by Allah. Jibreel alayhi salatu salam came. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala said, he said, give me your hand, let me become an ummati. He says, oh Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you've never ever lied to me before. You are known as Sadiq, you are known as Ameen, you are known as a trustworthy one, you are known as the Amanadar, the one that everybody would count on for trust. He said, so straight away he took Iman there and then, no question asked. And he took Iman upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam without asking anything. Straight away he took Iman. He said, Ashhadu, I bear witness, Annaka, that you, Annaka Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, that you are Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the slave of Allah and the messenger of Allah. And he became the first believer. And then, my respected brothers and elders, he stayed in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam all his life. In safar, in hadar, traveling, home, away, he stayed in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He made all the sacrifices of everything he had for the sake of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was from the tribe of Banu Taym. Now Banu Taym was known as a tribe, a very good tribe, very high tribe, that whenever there would be some differences of opinions between the Quraysh, Banu Taym would come and would be the guarantors. They would be the guarantors, and they would make sulah. They would make, sulah. They would fix the things that, look, we take guarantee, sort out your problems, we take responsibility. And they were known for this. And the women were known to be the most loyal of women, the best of women in all things. Obviously, Sayyidina Aisha, the daughter of Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, who was known to be the best wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the nikah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, when he took Shahada, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to spread Islam, he asked permission, Ya Rasulullah, I want to give the first khutbah. The first khutbah was given by who? Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. Shahadat first, Abu Bakr. First khutbah, Abu Bakr. First person to take Iman and Bayt, Abu Bakr. So, Ya Rasulullah, give me permission to do the first khutbah. Give me permission to give da'wat. Give me permission to call to you. To call towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That they recognize you as the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. First the Prophet said, look, it's new times. Yeah? Abhi thori himmat rakhna, sabr, hikmat. But then he kept on insisting. So Rasulullah said, okay. So he went in the midst of the kuffar in front of the Kaaba and he gave the first khutbah. Allahu Akbar. He said as soon as he gave the da'wat and the Payghambar about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as soon as he gave the message, he says that the people from all sides, they start to beat him up. See? They beat him and they beat him and they beat him till they almost left him for dead. And in them days, the Arabs had a rule. See? Unsur akhaq al-madhloom abi-dhalim. They had a rule that you stick up for your brother even if he is an oppressor or he's been oppressed. See? Like we see in today's time, right? If he's related to you, if he's your friend, even if he's in the right or wrong, you're going to back him up, right? Astaghfirullah. So this is their rule then. So according to this rule, when Abu Bakr was getting beat up, the family came and they almost left Abu Bakr for almost dead. They took Abu Bakr and they prevented it, they stopped it. And they said that if anything happens to Abu Bakr then we're going to take revenge from you people. See? We can take revenge from certain individuals because they're the ones who were hitting Abu Bakr and I don't recall their name, but they had a shoe and they were hitting Abu Bakr in the face. They said, if Abu Bakr dies, we're going to take revenge from you. You better get ready. If he dies, then watch what happens. So they took Abu Bakr to the house, back to his house, thinking, ya to mar jayega. Either he's going to die, or if he comes alive, then we can do accordingly. So they were just waiting. And the love of Rasulullah that was in the heart of Abu Bakr after a little while, when Abu Bakr he gains consciousness. He gains consciousness and then he asks, the first question he asks is, how is Muhammad? Allahu Akbar. Ye hai ishq ki kahani. This is the story of love. Love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ready to die for the Nabi of Allah. Ready to give life for the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It says when Abu Bakr when he woke up and he asked, how is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? They said, we were there for you. You got beat up because of him and now you're asking about him. He kept on asking, how is Muhammad? How is Muhammad? How is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He asked his mother said, woe to you. He said, because of that person you got beat up and now you're asking about him. He is me, I'm worried that you're not going to make it alive or dead, and the first thing you ask is, how is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He said, I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to do anything till you tell me how is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm not going to do anything until I see the blessed face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So then he asked his mother, he says, go inquire from Jamil. Jamil's name was Fatima. She was the sister of Umar ibn al-Khattab, who yet at that time did not make her Islam parent. See? So Hazrat Abu Bakr's father's name was Abu Quhafa. His name was Uthman bin Talha. His mother's name was Salama. So he said to her, ask Jamil, Ask Jamil of how is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when his mother seen that Abu Bakr is persisting, that he's asking, so she sent somebody. She went and she asked Jamil. She said, my son is Abu Bakr and he's asking about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how is he? And Jamil, she was hiding in Islam at the time, and she said, I don't really recall your son Abu Bakr. Who's Abu Bakr? She was hiding in Islam. She didn't want anybody to know. He said, no, my son told me to ask you. She said, okay, I'll come with you to see your son. But I don't really recall him that well. I don't know them that well. It says, when Jamil came in the room and she saw the state of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, tears began to roll down her eyes. She said, Abu Bakr, what is it that you ask? He said, I ask you, how is Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Upon this, Jamil looks towards Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala's mother. And says, look, I can't speak in front of her. He said, no, say in front of her, no problem. He said, he's fine. Abu Bakr radiallahu said, no, take me there. He said, how can we take you there? You can barely walk, you can barely move, you're almost left for dead. He said, no, take me there. He says that Jamil and the mother Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, they took Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu slowly, till they came to the place of Dar Arqam, which is on the foot of Marwa mountain in Makkah al-Mukarramah. And they went there, and when they went in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, and Abu Bakr radiallahu saw Rasulullah sallallahu. Rasulullah sallallahu came and he hugged Abu Bakr radiallahu. He tried to kiss him and hug him and put him close to his chest. And this is the love that Rasulullah sallallahu had for Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. And he was the closest companion to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And only then did Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala breathe, and only then did Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala take it apart. And my respected brothers and elders, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was very unique from all the companions. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala say that from all of us Sahaba, we always knew that Abu Bakr radiallahu to be of the highest rank, and then Umar, and then Uthman. He said there was no competition, we always knew. There's no comparison to Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala married the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, who's the one who given his daughter. Allahu Akbar. He gave his daughter to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the father-in-law of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was the best friend of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was only 2 years younger than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an, the sacrifices he made, the things that he did for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the time to leave Makkah came, the time to leave Makkah came, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an, he leaves with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they come to the cave. The story is well known. So Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an, before he took Rasulullah into this, he carried Rasulullah on his back. Before he went into this cave, he took off his qameez, he took off his pagri, and he ripped the cloth and he started to fill in all the gaps, until all the gaps were filled. And there was one gap where there was a little hole, and Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala put his foot there, and then he brought Rasulullah into this cave. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his blessed head. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his blessed head on the lap of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, and I don't know if it's right to say this, you could say that Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala had the blessed head of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his lap. He had the blessed head of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his lap, and he was looking at the blessed face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's as if he was reading وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. Allahu Akbar. My brothers, today we read the Quran. Today we read the Quran, we read the Arabic text. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was looking at a virtual Quran. He was looking at the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the blessed cheeks of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the blessed hair of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the blessed eyes, the blessed lips. And he had Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's blessed head in his lap. And he was looking at Rasulullah with so much love and affection that this is the Nabi of Allah, whom the Quran was revealed upon, whom was chosen from amongst all the Nabis, that no Nabi is going to come after him. And Allah has made me as his friend, and he is resting in my lap. He said Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu had his foot by a cave, by one of the holes in the cave. In the hole was a snake. See? And the snake came and he bit him. See? If you've ever been bitten by a snake, it's very, very painful. And a person's cheekh nikal jati hai. A person screams. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he's holding it in. That I don't want to disturb Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So much, my respected brothers and elders, he's holding in the pain. And tears began to fall. Tears began to fall from the cheek of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And they fall onto the blessed face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Upon this, Rasulullah wakes up and he asks, what is it, Abu Bakr? And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu then mentions, I've been bitten by a snake. Rasulullah took his lu'ab mubarak, the blessed saliva of Rasulullah, he put it onto the foot of Abu Bakr radiallahu to heal. And then, my respected brothers and elders, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he traveled with Rasulullah to Madinatul Munawwara. When they were arriving to Madinatul Munawwara, the people, they were looking from the mountains. Just imagine this, my respected brothers and elders. They were arriving, and the people, and the young girls, they began to sing, Tala al-Badru alayna min thaniyatil wada'. They started to sing this song that the Nabi of Allah is coming. And such is the simplicity of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. He was a khadim and he was a makhdum. Allahu Akbar. He was a khadim of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a servant of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when he came there, my respected brothers and elders, the people who didn't know Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, they thought of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. They thought of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu to be Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be Abu Bakr. So they began to go near him. They began to go to near Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and they began to kiss him and hold his hands and so on and so forth. It was only when Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala moved this umbrella or this kind of, like, it's called a mustadil, like a thing to cover Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they realized, oh, he's Abu Bakr, this is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in Masjid Quba, next to Masjid Quba, this place is there today. It's known as Masjid al-Madin, where they built this shadow, where this place where Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he placed something on top of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to as a shadow, as a shade, sorry. And my respected brothers and elders, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was the greatest companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It says upon occasion, as Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he wanted to have a competition with Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, that he beats me in everything. And when it came to giving in the name of Allah subhanahu, I'm just making it brief, my respected brothers and elders. It says it came to giving in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala brought all of his wealth. Umar radiallahu ta'ala brought half of his wealth. Today, if somebody says to give Jannah to the masjid, we just about give spare change, that's born by that's enough. That's enough till the next Jummah. Sahaba, my respected brothers and elders, they give everything, every last thing that they had. Nabi sallallahu asked Umar radiallahu anhu, what have you left? He says, well, I brought or left that much behind. Then I put half. He said to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, what have you left behind? He says, I've left Allah and His Rasul. Umar radiallahu anhu, he says, Ana la asbiquhu ahad abadan. He says, I can never go further than him. See? And this is Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, my respected brothers and elders. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, being such a high companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his simplicity. See? Upon occasion, he's seen his daughter wearing some very expensive clothes. See? And he said to his daughter, he says, give me that cloth. See? Let it not be that this cloth is left behind. We have to give in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this cloth is left behind. He said he was wiping his hand on the wall, and his daughter asked, Ma'alaka ya abi, what is it? He said, I don't want it to be a couple of days ago I put a needle into this mud wall. Let it not be that this needle left behind. Abu Bakr took off the clothes he's wearing and he started to wear clothes of patches. Patches you get in the church. It says Jibreel alayhi salatu salam came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tattered and patted clothes. Jibreel alayhi salatu salam came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in very similar clothes. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Jibreel, Malaka, what is it? You're wearing clothes with patches in.
13 patches of Bakr radiallahu anhu had in his cloth. And Jibreel alayhi salatu comes down in a similar form, with clothes with patches. And Rasulullah asked, oh Jibreel, what is this? He said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu, even the angels are copying the sunnat Abu Bakr. And looked towards the sky, and all the angels were wearing similar clothes. Allahu Akbar. And Rasulullah sallallahu said, Jibreel alayhi salatu said, O Rasulullah sallallahu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends his salams to Abu Bakr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends his salam to Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala an, that the Nabi of Allah is saying that Allah the Almighty himself is sending salams upon Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala an. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam informs him and he says, Oh Abu Bakr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends salams upon you. Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu said, Allah said my name. Said, Allah said your name. Allahu Akbar. And these were the companions, my respected brothers and elders. See? These were the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the lifetime of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is leaving this world. See? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is leaving this world. And everybody is parishan, everybody is worried. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who in complex, was very skinny, very thin, very kamzor, but iman was massive. People were scared that after the passing away of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how is he going to handle it? It says as soon as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, Umar, who was the strongest, became weak. He became parishan. What's happened? And Abu Bakr radiallahu straight away fitted into this position of khilafat. And he said that now whosoever believes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whosoever believes that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be what's the words? Whosoever believes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be Allah, then know that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has passed away. And know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never passes away. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an, in the lifetime of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the only person who led the salat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muru Abu Bakr bis salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, pull the Sahaba back, and he said, put Abu Bakr forward. Because only he can be the Imam of the Sahaba, because he was the Imam of the Sahaba. So my respected brothers and elders, yet such a high caliber Sahaba. See, there's so much you can go into. I've just done a little touch here and there. Obviously you can never fulfill the rights of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. Such a Sahabi of a high caliber, yet he says, how I wish I was a blade of grass. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once explained, see, he says to the Sahaba, he says, Jibreel alayhi salatu salam took me to Jannah, and he showed me to the gates of Jannah, and he entered me into Jannah. See? And I saw Jannah on the time of Mi'raj. It's the hadith is Mishkan. So Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala says, he says, Oh Rasulullah, how I wish I could also be with you at this time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Oh Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, no ummati of mine will enter in Jannat until you enter Jannat. Allahu Akbar. No ummati of mine will enter into Jannat until you enter Jannat. You will be the one. It says Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala is a Sahabi who all 8 gates of Jannat will call towards. All 8 gates of Jannat they will call to Abu Bakr that come through me, come through me, come through me. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on many occasions he said, Abu Bakr fil Jannah. Abu Bakr is from Jannah. Abu Bakr will enter into Jannah. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala's tabiyat, the way he used to think, the way he was very different. This name was given to him Atiq, Siddiq. The hadith is in Mishkat. It says that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala, she says that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that person who's a Atiq minan nar, Atiqum minan nar, the one that is a savior from the fire of hell is Abu Bakr. It says from that day onwards we began to call him Atiq. See? When Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was told, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Oh Abu Bakr, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came down from Mi'raj, and on the way he met Abu Jahl. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the way he met Abu Jahl, the worst enemy of Islam. And he asked, he says, Oh Muhammad, what is it? What's the latest? You know how we say in our language, what's the latest? What's going on? So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that I went from here to Masjid Aqsa. From Aqsa, I went to Mi'raj and Isra. I went to the skies and I did this and so on and so forth. And he told Abu Jahl the whole story, and then I came back. And Abu Jahl, who was the worst of the kuffar, He says, all of this in one night. How is this possible? So he started to make a mockery. And he went to Abu Bakr. And he met Abu Bakr and he says, have you heard now what Muhammad is saying? He said, what did he say? He said this. He said this. What do you think now? He was trying to create kufr into the heart of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was such a strong sahabi. He says, this is the case. He went to Rasulullah sallallahu and Rasulullah sallallahu said, Abu Bakr, this is what happened. Abu Bakr, Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam came. Sadaqta ya Rasulullah. Buraq came. I sat on the Buraq. Sadaqta ya Rasulullah. I went up to Masjid Aqsa. All the Nabis, they prayed namaz behind me. Sadaqta ya Rasulullah. He said, then after that, I went up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I went to Jannat. I seen all these things. I was presented with milk. Sadaqta ya Rasulullah. I was presented with this. Sadaqta ya Rasulullah. I was given the gift of salat. Sadaqta ya Rasulullah. I was given this and I was given this. And then I came back and then I came back tonight. Sadaqta ya Rasulullah. Upon this, the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked at him and he said, you said sadaqta to everything. I said, fa wallahi inni ushhidu, inni ashhadu. I give gawahi, annaka siddiqun. I give gawahi that you did sadaqat of whatever I said. You agreed with everything I said. I tell you, the Nabi of Allah, that you are Siddiq. Even Allah says you are the Siddiq. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. That you are the truthful one. And this is where this name Siddiq came from. His son, Abu Bakr's son, he accepted Islam later. He says, oh my father, on the battle of Badr. He said, on the battle of Badr, there are many times I've seen you. Many times I could have caught you off guard. And I thought that, you know what, I'll attack you. But then I thought, no, my father, I can't kill my father. He wasn't a Muslim at the time. Abu Bakr radiallahu turned around and he said, oh my son. He said, you didn't attack me. For wallahi, I swear by Allah, on the battle of Badr, if I saw you and you came in front of me, wallahi, I would have killed you. Because you were an enemy of Allah and His Rasul at that time. Allahu Akbar. Because nobody can be a true believer until he loves Allah's Rasul more than he loves. Nobody can be a true believer until he loves Rasulullah more than he loves himself. You got to love Rasulullah more than love yourself. When Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he heard this riwayat. When he heard Rasulullah say, he said, Ya Rasul, I love you, but I love myself more. Rasulullah said, you can't be a true believer then. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala went quiet for a little while. And then he said, Ya Rasulullah, now I love you more than I love myself. Ulama, they mention, the reason for this little halt and little stop was, because Umar radiallahu ta'ala began to think, that who is Umar? Who is Umar without Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Who is Umar without Islam? Who is Umar without being in the company of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Who is Umar radiallahu ta'ala without all these blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed him, without the Quran, without Iman, without Islam? Because of Islam, A'azzana Allah bil Islam. Because of Islam, Allah gave us respect. Because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah made us sahabis and so on and so forth. And upon this, Umar radiallahu anhu says, now I love you, Rasulullah more than I love myself. So my respected brothers and elders, this was Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. He was the most beloved companion of Rasulullah. There's so many more things, there's so many fadail and manaqib Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, and that we can go on all day. But the point I want to make to, and the point I want to finish off on is, that after having all these things, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he feared Allah more than anybody. He had the fear of Allah in his heart more than anybody. He understood the Quran better than anybody else. It says when Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala would hear the Quran ayats, some Sahabi would get happy and Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala would be upset. And they would look and say, what's wrong? I'll give you an example. The ayat was revealed, Surah Al-Nasr. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. See? When the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come on conquering. They thought the conquering of Makkah. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسِ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. And you'll see people coming in numbers towards Islam. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. So do tasbih of your Rabb, of your Lord. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. And make istighfar. إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Verily He is most forgiving. So when the Sahaba heard this ayat, they said, oh, that we've been through so much hardship and difficulty and so on and so forth. Allah is saying that the help of Allah is going to come, conquering is going to come, Fatah Makkah is going to come. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's father also accepted Islam in Fatah Makkah. See, I'm just going to finish off, I've got a couple of minutes left. And it says that do tasbih of your Lord and do istighfar. The Sahaba became very happy. At one corner there was an old man, very skinny, very small, with tears in his eyes, crying and crying and crying and crying. And they asked, "Oh, Bakr, what is it?" Old man, who was not a normal old man, who was the one with the most iman and Islam, with the most understanding. They said, "Maybe we've understood something wrong. What's happened?" He said, "Don't you see that these ayats are relating to the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Wastaghfir innahu kana tawwaba." Now that the time for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to depart from us is very, very close. And only then the Sahaba, they realized and they began to cry. That, "Oh Bakr, how you have understood the Quran, we haven't understood the Quran." And then when the time of the passing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala came like a mountain of iman and Islam. And he gave this khutbah there and then, again. And people are arguing that where were we to bury the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, the one who spoke up, that wherever a Nabi passes away, he is to be buried there. And upon the departure of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from this world, many people, they wanted to leave Islam. They did inkar of zakat. They said, "We're not going to give zakat." Upon this, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he spoke up, "Ayanqusu ad-din wa ana hayy. Ayanqusu wa ana hayy." That's the words used in the hadith. That can there be a defect in deen and Abu Bakr is alive? It says so much so, if the reins of the horses are not even given as zakat, then I'm not going to let that go. Ayanqusu ad-din. Can there be any default in deen? Can there any be loss in deen when Abu Bakr is alive? This can't happen. Then my respected brothers and elders, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, his khilafat was only for a very short while after this. And then when Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala passed away, what can we say? He was a companion of Rasulullah sallallahu in hayat, when Rasulullah sallallahu was amongst us. And then when Rasulullah sallallahu left us, obviously the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, they are alive in their graves. It says that Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he was buried next to Rasulullah sallallahu. Allahu Akbar. What honor. Rasulullah sallallahu said, tomorrow on the day of Qiyamah, the first person whose grave will be opened will be my grave, i.e. the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is after that Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. After that Umar radiallahu ta'ala. And then the people of Baqi, this hadith is Mishkat. He says, then the people of Jannatul Baqi will be lifted up. He said, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, then I will wait for the people of Makkah. The people of Makkah who are buried in Makkah, I'll be waiting for them. And then we will go towards the mahshar. So my respected brothers and elders, you tell me, that person who will be lifted to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-mar'u ma'a man ahab, a person will be with that person who he loves. That person in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is lifted to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He lived with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After the passing away, he'll be the first one to be raised with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He'll be the first person to give hisab on the day of Qiyamah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be very, very angry in the day of Qiyamah. And the first person who by seeing the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cool down will be Abu Bakr. So my respected brothers and elders, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability to understand the value of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. And my respected brothers and elders, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the taqwa of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. The more we read about these Sahaba, the more we listen about them, the more we become inspired. I didn't fulfill the haqq of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, and none of us can. But the little glimpse of the life of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, I try to just squash it all in 45 minutes. It's never enough. The more you read, the more you see, the more you find the life of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, the more we learn. There's so many things. Today if you go into Makkah al-Mukarramah, Madinah al-Munawwarah, you'll still see history of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. There's a door in Masjid Nabawi next to Babu Salam. They're known as the door of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala would come. In front of the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's certain houses that would be there. From them very close was where the house of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was. If you go to Makkah al-Mukarramah, I don't want to start a history lesson, but I'm in the mode so I can carry on, right? So Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, if you go to Makkah al-Mukarramah, if you come out to King Fahad, there's a KFC, on top of the KFC, for those who've been in Makkah, the house of Abu Bakr radiallahu is still there. It's known as Abu Bakr. And when you go there and you think to yourself that this was the house of Abu Bakr radiallahu lived, It's history. And my respected brothers and elders, these people, they left a legacy behind. We have big boots to fill. We can never fulfill them. But all we can do is read their lifestyle. It says when a person, he reads about something, it's like sitting in their company. The ulama mentioned that there was some scholars, Imam Muslim, Imam Bukhari, and so on and so forth. When they wouldn't give lectures and stuff like this, they would quickly go home after Salat. And people say, where are you going? Why are you not going to advise us and give some advice? He said, I'm going to go sit with the Sahaba and Rasulullah. He said, what are you talking about? He said, the Sahaba, so many years ago? He says, no, the hadith of the Prophet and the stories of the Sahaba and the life of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, this is the company of Rasulullah and this is the company of Sahaba. And my respected brothers and elders here, this is what we're trying to implement, and this is what we're trying to bring into our lives. The more we listen, the more we think, it builds an image and it builds something in our mind of what these people were like. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability to understand the Sahaba, to read about the Sahaba, to be in the company of the Sahaba on the day of Qiyamah. And any piece of works we find about the Sahaba, any dars of hadith we find, anything that we find that connects it to Rasulullah the Sahaba, my respected brothers and elders, we connect to it, we join it, we give all our time towards it, because this will help us be risen with the Sahaba on the day of Qiyamah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to understand these things, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to love Rasulullah and the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik.